Welcome to the Bullpen on the Horn Takes podcast, the internet show all about Texas baseball. Joining me as always, Marc Pena of Occupy Left Field, Zach Sim of OrangeBloods.com. Guys, how we doing tonight?
Doing great. Good to see you guys again. Another Monday.
That's right, man. Yeah. Mondays suck, but Mondays are fun because we get to hang out and talk Texas baseball, so I like that. Make sure you follow us all on X for the latest on Texas baseball. Subscribe, get notified for all the latest content on the YouTube channel at Horn Takes. Check out the online stores. Marc's got some stuff going with Last Stand hats. You can go to Last Stand hats, search for Left Field. There's a whole Left Field collection. All the proceeds from that going back to the Texas One Fund. You can check out our store, horntakestore.myshopify.com. Same deal. Almost all of that outside of covering my costs going back to the Texas One Fund. So we're here to try to help raise some money, keep these sports programs rolling for the University of Texas. New deal tonight, man. We kind of, I wouldn't say we inked a deal with Chinook Seedery, but we've been working with Chinook Seedery. So you can use promo code HornTakes at ChinookSeedery.com. Get 10% off your order, and 10% off of one of those big seed orders, pretty good chunk of change. You can spend some cash on ChinookSeedery.com. So make sure if you're buying seeds, you like seeds, you like Chinook seeds, which you should. They're really good. Use our promo code, HornTakes. And get 10% off there. Guys, big road trip in the SEC. Oh, before we start talking baseball, let's give a shout out to those ladies. The Texas Longhorn ladies advanced to the Final Four for the first time, and I didn't catch exactly what they said. 20-something years.
Yeah,
it's been since the ladies advanced to the Final Four. So congratulations, Vic Schaefer. Congratulations, ladies. That game, one of the only two games of ladies basketball I've watched all year, and man, it kind of rope-a-doped on them, man. They couldn't get away, then they did. Then the TCU came back big time right before half, and a really good game. Actually, I thought maybe the ladies weren't going to be able to score enough. They were playing really good defense, but I was like, man, are we going to be able to score enough points to make it worth it to play all that good defense? They ended up pulling it out. So congrats, ladies.
Yeah, shout out to them. They've been a fun team to watch. I've been following along, especially the second half of the season, and they're really talented. It's going to be fun to watch them go up against South Carolina again in the Final Four. Kind of
round
sucks.
Four.
It's been going on the exact same time as Texas, Georgia on Friday night. So that kind of sucks, but hoping that they'll be able to pull it off. And maybe
you'll have to bring that little TV thing. The little TV speaker thing that you had for, I don't know what the hell you had it for, but you were watching something out there in left field one night, so had to figure out a way to get that out there. Guys, if you're joining us tonight on the chat, you're watching live, please do join us in the chat. Post your comments, post your questions. We're gonna have Olivia Sayer from Dogs 247 on in a little while to talk Texas, Georgia this weekend. So if you got questions for Olivia, you got questions about Georgia baseball, throw them in the chat. We'll make sure that Olivia answers them for you. So we're excited about that. Missouri series, the guys go on the road. We all talked about it last Monday, how this one might be a little trappy. You had LSU in the weekend before, you got Georgia coming in the weekend after. Mizzou, not a good team. The guys go on the road, and despite some pretty good chunks of adversity over the weekend, really dominate the Missouri Tigers. And I know the Missouri Tigers not a great baseball team. I think we all know that. But man, they just went over there and took care of business. Very business-like, very next man up-like, and took care of it. Gasparino, who I am now calling Mash Perino, due to what he did this weekend. What the hell, man? What did that dude eat between the LSU series and Tuesday night and headed on into this weekend? Holy cow, big time contact and power by Mash Perino.
Good stuff, man. They played real well over the weekend, and like you mentioned, obviously, struggling with some injuries, guys having to step up, with a couple key contributors out of the lineup. But man, I thought they played great. Pitching staff was fantastic. A lot of home runs offensively. And like you said, man, Gasparino, Flores, they just kind of carried the offense throughout the weekend. So they were able to go up there, get the job done, and coming home with a road sweep. We've talked about how hard that is to do, especially in the SEC. So to be 6-0 on the road in the conference is impressive. I don't care who the hell you're playing. So very happy with that, and glad they came home with that sweep.
Zach.
Yeah, I mean, you had guys stepping up. You had Kimball step up in a big way. Mendoza continues just to be the dude at the top of the lineup, making things happen. But you had guys, even Cole Chamberlain stepped in game one of the doubleheader and was able to get a good hit. And overall, I think what really has to impress you is that Missouri has been a team and a location, especially in Como, that just hasn't treated Texas nicely over the years.
Yeah, you statted us last week. You statted me straight up in my face about all that last week.
See, I got y'all all worried so that you wouldn't overlook them, right? This is what I
did, man. You did a good job.
But it's the consummate trap game. You go on a road and there's no atmosphere. It's a small ballpark, right? And so you're just, they got a freaking naming rights from a fraternity on the
ballpark. I don't mean to besmirch Missouri baseball, but that place, man, is lit. I'm not joking. We've seen high school stadiums in Texas, just so much more to them than that. So, but they obviously don't care about baseball as much as other sports.
Well, at the end of the day, though, going back to Texas, it's the thing that impressed me was the Max Wiener effect, right? The mustache effect. The pitchers don't give a shit. They don't give a shit if it's LSU or it's Missouri. They're going to go out there. They're going to do their thing. And that's what you saw, right? Like at one point, Max Wiener went out there, and I don't know if y'all paid attention, but it wasn't just a pitcher. The entire infield was taking deep breaths and just exhaling. He's like, look, just take a breath.
Yeah.
He's like, it's a game. And, everyone you talk to, the mentality that he brings to this rotation and pitching staff is just next level stuff. He's done amazing. But here's another stat for you, Sean. 1 run. That's it. That's all the bullpen gave up the entire weekend. It didn't come until Sunday. I keep saying Sunday, but game 2 of the doubleheader. And that's how you win a road series on the, and get a sweep. So.
Yeah, everything y'all said 100%. Good to see Schuessler get on the home run board, hitting 2 on the weekend. We knew he had that kind of power, and I think everybody really that watched Schuess play last year was kind of like, man, where did that go? He's been doing well. It's not like he's slumping or anything like that. Just hasn't seemed to have been able to get the ball out of the park, and I bet you he's happy to get that. I know guys will talk about it, and they'll say, man, I don't care about the home runs. I'm just trying to get the ball in play. And you probably are 99% of it, but 1% of you just likes to hit the ball over the fence. There's probably no better feeling as a hitter than getting the ball over the fence. I never did that, so I have no idea. I told y'all before I couldn't hit the ball except in practice. I could hit it really good in practice, good enough to be the 4-hole, but then I never could hit it in a game. So
what a show off cleanup guy. Here we go.
I was the cleanup dude, man, in practice, and then baseball games actually ended my baseball career very quickly, and I focused straight on football, and it worked out for me, man. I had a good time playing football. So Schuessler getting some work done. You mentioned Mendoza. He's just steady. Every once in a while he give you that flash. We saw him hit 4 home runs early in the season, and everybody was kind of like, man, where did this guy come from? But he's probably not going to hit 10 home runs this year, but I don't care. He just keeps putting the ball in play. He keeps getting singles on infield hits. He keeps playing defense. And so that's what he is. That's what the coaches want him to do. He gets on base. And that's what you want the leadoff to do. And he does it. I don't want to say as good as anybody in college baseball because I haven't seen all 331 leadoff hitters play, but he's really good at it. So let's just say he's at the top of the game. He's in an elite group of guys that just keep getting on base. So that's outstanding. You want to talk offense, 29 runs scored over 3 games this weekend, 1 run rule, 10 home runs, 5 doubles. And here's one I like. We don't talk about it enough. 7 stolen bases. It's almost like I don't know if the Missouri pitchers just don't pay attention or if the guys saw something coming in. Cantu did his homework and said, man, we're fixing to run on these dudes. But they did. They ran all over Missouri. It was 7 bases in a weekend sounds like a lot to me. Am I off on that? Like, I mean, seems pretty aggressive. You're muted, Zach.
This is a team that likes to run, and what most people don't realize is that Schloss gives them the green light a lot of times. Like Cantu will be there timing the leg kick and the delivery home. But he even said, like, look, when Jonah got in there, he was like, I was a fan. I just wanted to see him run. He's like, I would never give him the green light against that pitcher because the pitcher actually had a really good kick in time home. But he goes, there's times where, we're giving green lights and the guys, they have freedom to run the bases. He's like, I'm going to give them that freedom because I want them to be expressive and be that part of their game. He's like, I don't want to hold them back. And so, they've worked a lot on that because I think everyone probably recognizes that Texas was not a very good running team last year. They stole, I think, 46 total bases. They already have 34 this year, and that's 60 games versus 26 games. But yeah, I mean, he gives them a lot of freedom, and he says, look, after we time them up, you're good to go. Like, have fun. And that's why you see guys like Galvan going. He's a catcher. I mean, he's a big boy, but he's going, right? Max, even earlier this season, he was stealing bases. So,
yeah, I think that's the other interesting part about it. It's not just one or two guys that are stealing the bases. You look at the stat lines all season long, and Galvan's tried to steal a few times this year. I think he's got a few of them. He's got thrown out a couple times maybe, but he's doing it. And I think if you can just put that kind of a lot of teams won't put that kind of pressure on the defense, and it's almost like back in the day when Augie wanted to bunt all the time. You're putting a lot of pressure on the defense that they don't usually get. Sometimes they do all right, sometimes they don't, and those times they don't, you can kind of make them pay. And so I like to see the running, even if we, we get thrown out a fair amount, but I still think it's worth it to, in certain situations, just go, I don't care who's on first base, we're going to run and try to make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, every regular starter has a stolen base, with the exception of Casey Borba. But I mean, even Galvan, he's 4 for 6. So
yeah, so pretty good actually.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, real quick before we move forward, we got a couple questions about the elephant in the room. Can one of y'all explain what's going on with Baloo hearing out for the year, but then later on in the day we saw week to week? Zach, you want to speak to that? Because I think probably you've got the best piece of information on all of that.
Yeah. So, what happened, for those that don't remember, didn't see the play, is towards the end of the game on Friday, Baloo made that dive out in right field. And what happened is he crumpled up that thumb and back underneath. And so what it ended up doing was there's a small tendon that runs through there. He tore that, and then he has this little hairline fracture in there. He tried to give it a go in BP because they did batting practice inside. They didn't actually take BP outside on Saturday morning. He was like, hey, it's just not right. This is a no-go. So they were like, hey, we're not taking any chances. We'll get back to Austin. We'll get all the scans, go through all the things. The family saw someone on Sunday, and the news initially was just not good at all. It was like, hey, yeah, this is bad. Like, you have a torn tendon, you're out for indefinitely. They were able to go see the team doctor. They were able to get in front of the trainer. They were able to get in front of, the staff, and they were able to get in front of the strength and conditioning coach, Matt Couch. And they said, look, here's the reality. This is not something you can sit on, right? It's not just going to heal by itself. You're going to have surgery. Yes. But what the scan showed was like, it's something that could be healed in a, reasonable time frame. I know Kendall Rogers said 6 to 8 weeks. Yes, it's around that time frame, right? Like there's no guarantee that it's 6 weeks. There's no guarantee that's 8 weeks. It could be 10 weeks.
Right.
Best case scenario is, he's having surgery next week. Best case scenario is he's back by Oklahoma, maybe Hoover, somewhere in that time frame, right? But then you have to understand, like, if you've been off for 6 to 8 weeks, it's not like riding a bicycle at times. Like,
right.
One, you have to get back into the cage. You have to be able to grip the bat. You have to be able to take the shock and vibration of hitting a ball. You have to be able to time things up. And so there's a lot that goes into just the mechanics of it. And so you take all the playing factors and the health factor and, mentally being able to say, okay, I'm back looking at, high leverage situations and being counted on. And then you have the personal aspect, right? Like, you've got a draft year. I mean, this is his year. He's a junior, and he was expected to be going fairly high up. And So, you have that aspect in the back of your mind of, well, should I just rest this hand and say, hey, look, it just didn't work out. This the way things lay and lay off. But that's not his mentality, right? Like he told the team, he's told the staff, I want to be back. I want to, I want to provide, right? And so they're going to do what they can, but a lot of it's going to come down to what the recovery looks like and how he feels mentally and physically with that hand. And then, for Galvan, he took that bunt straight off the finger, off his index finger. And I don't know if you could see it on TV or not, but I mean, it hit him right about here.
Yeah.
And when they went down, they immediately were like, it's fractured. I mean,
Yeah,
it blew up.
Yeah.
So they actually sent him in between games to the urgent care there in Como. And I know exactly which one it is because my stepdad doesn't live terribly far from there. And they did a scan in the game and they said, oh, no, it's not broken. So I found out, during the game that it wasn't. So that was good news. But I mean, it's still like that's your receiving hand. So can you, or not receiving hand, but your throwing hand. Well, can you grip it? Can you throw it down? Like there's a lot that goes into that still. So we're definitely not going to see him tomorrow night. His stated goal is that he wants to be back for Georgia. We'll see how that finger progresses throughout the week. I'm sure it'll be taped up and everything else. And then the crazy thing was the scariest one was actually Adrian Rodriguez. They thought it was a hamate, which for those that don't know, it's this bone right in here. And when you break that, I mean, you're out for a while, and those are really, really tough to recover from. It's not a straightforward recovery. The scans came back negative on that. And so now they say he's week to week because they say he's day to day because they're just feeling it out. How's the hand feeling? Are you able to grip? Are you able to handle all that? So, yeah.
Yeah, so rough deal for the Longhorns over the weekend. Obviously, I don't think I've ever seen that many guys get hurt in two baseball games. I mean, it looked a lot like an SEC football game with guys going down. And yeah, when Galvan took that one off the hand, they showed a real slow motion replay. And my wife's a nurse, and she was like, "Man, it looked like his hand just kind of exploded. That doesn't look good." And then you saw the way he was reacting, to the trainer and what they were. I couldn't tell what she was saying to him, but it just had the feel of, dang, that's a rough deal. So glad to hear that both of those guys came back negative, and some guys stepped up over the weekend. Some guys will just have to step up for a while. If Max can come back, that's awesome. If not, I mean, just bottom line, we hope the best for him. We hope the best for his family. And yeah, y'all be thinking about Max, man, because that's got to be tough. Got to be tough for players. You see it all the time. Not so much in baseball necessarily, but you definitely see it a lot in sports where these guys put a lot of effort into the season, and then it can happen real quick where some of that stuff kind of goes backwards on you. So anyway, we'll be thinking about them. It's going to be tough to replace a Max Ballou for 6 to 8 weeks. Let's say it's 6 to 8 weeks. And again, I think one of the questions there was on the chat was like, we saw 6 to 8 weeks, or we saw week to week. I think that's just an SEC reporting thing. The official position of the school kind of just has to be week to week, unless they say he's out for the season. So we saw that a lot in football this year with guys that were banged up. So yeah, the initial report is probably closer to reality than him being week to week at this point. So we'll just have to see how that goes. So yeah, hopefully some guys will step up and the Longhorns can stay on track. We've talked about it all season on the show, how it's just kind of up and down this lineup. Guys just show up, and it's not always the same guys. So certainly will hurt, but I think I like the mental makeup of this team, and I like the camaraderie on this team. I think this could be something that the team can kind of rally around. And if they can get some of those guys that have been kind of teetering on the edge of being producers to start producing pretty consistently, then I still think there's no telling what this team can do as far as the season goes. So we talked the offense out there. Let's talk this defense, guys. Or excuse me, this pitching. Man, what is it? El Bigote, right, Mark? Man, what is that? How you pronounce it?
It is El Bigote, man. He
El
was
Bigote.
Fantastic for the second weekend in a row. Yeah,
Ruger Riojas, man, he was nails. Talk to us about it, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, he's pitching out of his mind right now. Just so much confidence on the mound, which you see from several guys on the staff. But what you've seen from him is just wild. I mean, for him to go so deep into the game as well is something that I was impressed with. And Zach, I heard you mention that earlier this morning as well. But that's just like so big for the staff. And I'm telling you, it feels like every week those key guys are just getting more and more ingrained in their roles and what they're doing as a staff across the board. And going back to some of the injuries that we have right now, that staff gives you some confidence, right? That you can make up for an injury and still stay competitive and still stay in the hunt for important things from a season perspective. So they just got to keep it going, man. Ruger's been so good. And Zach, I'm curious on your side, like, how much more do we need to see from him starting before you think he is penciled in as that number 3 guy and kind of penciled into that role moving forward? Do you still think that Schloss wants to tinker with that a little bit and use him where they need him, or where do you think he's going to end up there?
I mean, I think, they've said it all along. We'd like Volantis or Ruger to be the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Sloss realizes how powerful of an impactful player you have when you have 2 utility pitchers that you can roll out at any time to stop a game from getting out of hand or, finish a game off. And, being able to pair Ruger with Harrison or Ruger with Spencer and vice versa with Grubbs, I mean, that's really, really big. Because now taking him out of that, it's kind of, you need Spencer to give you some length. Right. And then you need the freshman Jason Flores and Grubbs and Duplantier to kind of step up. That kind of group has given you 65% of the innings. So unless another guy is going to continue to make those next steps, whether it be a Rarick or a Bryce Navarre, one of those guys, or even a Cody Howard, who we've seen, flashes of, unless they can truly make that next step, it's almost kind of like the Volantis at the moment. You have to put them where you have to put them. And so, when it comes to this Georgia weekend or it comes to Auburn or, any of these future weekends, if they have to steal a game, I have no doubt in my mind that Schlossnagle will turn to Ruger and say, hey, I need you for 4 innings. Go do the damn thing.
Yeah.
And Ruger's more than happy to do it, right? Like, he's got the rubber arm. But yes, you would love to see Ruger be the Sunday guy, because now you've got the front end, the back end, the Friday and the Sunday guys that are just got electric stuff. And that's nothing against Harrison, because I love the makeup and the mental fight that he has. He doesn't have necessarily elite stuff, but he's going to give you 4 to 5 innings every night, and he's going to put you in a position to win. So it's, it always comes down to that situational baseball, and just, are you willing to look at the bigger picture, or do you need to focus on the micro, that 1 inning or that 1 pitch? So,
yeah. And I just think it's fantastic, Zach and Sean, how, they're just ready to kind of jump in whenever they're needed, right? You hear all the time about starting pitching and their routine and, just having to be in that routine. And I just respect that so much, that these guys are just, they're seemingly always ready, right? They're ready wherever Max and wherever Schloss need them. And when they put them in, they're ready to go. So a lot of respect for those guys to just be able to slide in and just jump on that mound whenever we need them to put some innings out there for us.
Yeah, I think to your point, guys, the guys on the broadcast were talking about how Texas kind of has like 5-6 guys that they just continuously roll out there, and I think a lot of that is just building some quality depth, and the other part of it is it's just a different. I think you have to approach it differently, and you've talked about this, Zach, earlier this season as we've talked on the show. You kind of have to approach SEC baseball a little bit differently. Not every team is going to have pitchers. Matter of fact, the team we're going to play this weekend, their guy closed a game this weekend and started a game this weekend. Mm-hmm. So if you got arms and they can go, you got to throw them when you can throw them to win games. And so I don't remember which one of us said it. One of us said, Texas fans, you're going to kind of have to get out of this mindset of Friday, Saturday, Sunday starter and start looking at maybe Friday, Saturday starters, and then sort of a combination of guys the rest of those games in whatever order that it takes to go win games. So, just like the LSU fan, is that your closer? Well, he kind of has been the last 2 weeks, but who's to say Dylan Valanis doesn't have to start a game maybe this weekend possibly, because just the way the rest of the games went. So I think it's good, like you said, Mark, to have guys that are mentally tough enough that they can just come in whenever and just go throw a bunch of strikes.
The game of baseball's changed so much too. You don't have a Ty Madden that's going to give you 7 or 8 innings every single outing. I mean, it's just there's simply not that kind of talent. I mean, nothing against the pitchers at Texas at the moment, but those guys just don't grow on trees, right? And so then you also factor in the competition that they're facing. It's much different, right? They're not facing the same level of competition they did in the past. And so again, I think you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And to Mark's point, or Sean's, I can't remember who said it a moment ago, those guys come in and they stand ready, which is really unique, because the biggest concern that they had about Spencer coming into the season wasn't about his stuff. It wasn't about him being able to get deep into games. They knew that he had that ability. It was about the mindset of, I'm the Friday night guy. They're going to spend from Wednesday to Friday watching film on me, prepping for me. They're going to be ready to hit my stuff. And so I have to go out there and mentally be strong enough that if I do give up some stuff early, to be able to go as far as I can for the team. So, yeah.
I vote we start calling it the mustache mentality. Let's just call it that. All right.
Yeah, you know what I noticed? I think there's only one guy on the team that isn't rocking the mustache right now. Casey Borba has just refused to rock the mustache, and you got to respect him for that.
No, there's more guys. Gaspo doesn't have a mustache.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't mean to pick on Borba. I just thought it was at one point during the weekend. I go, man, everybody's kind of growing out mustaches, and then I saw Casey come up to bat, and I was like, oh well, Casey ain't growing a mustache.
I'm gonna text Eric and tell him, Eric, you gotta teach that boy.
Yeah, man, we gotta get Casey a mustache, man. Even if it's a fake one. A fake one might be even cooler.
And I was laughing at Grubbs, man. Texas Baseball posted a picture of him on Saturday. That fool looks like he's 44 years old with that Tom Selleck mustache now, man.
Yeah.
We were laughing so hard. He looks like a grown-ass man. I'm like, calm down, Grubbs.
Yeah, full disclosure, I am not a fan of the by itself mustache. I don't know why. I don't know. I like the full beard, the full beard look, or maybe a goatee type of deal.
Could it be jealousy because you can't pull it off, man? I think it's.
I probably can't pull it off. That probably is exactly what it is.
I know I couldn't.
but good on the kids, man, for being able to grow a mustache out in like a week and get out there and mustache out together. That's good stuff. If we can get all the boys growing mustaches, this might be one of those years, man. You just never know what'll happen. So yeah, again, the pitching was what the pitching was. Spencer goes 5. It wasn't pretty super awesome pretty. It wasn't like a dominating performance, but it was really damn good. And I thought Harrison again was really good early. It's almost like Harrison, they kind of figure him out once it almost looks like, the first time through the order, he really keeps them off balance. And then they're seeing something when they get to go through the second time or the third time, and they can kind of touch him up a little bit. But like you said, I really like the way he just gets in there and battles, man. You got to love those dudes that just continuously throw strikes and rely on the defense. And that's, honestly, as a pitcher, that's all you can do is do those things. Grubbs shut down again. I'm going to make Grubbs in a verb or an adverb. I can't remember which. It's been a long time since I've been in English class, but Grubbs-in is about to be a thing. And then Valanis was really good again. He's been that way all season, really. I thought the defense pretty good. We had 2 errors on the weekend. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on the defense are.
I was just about to mention that, Sean, and I'm kind of scrolling on my phone here just to make sure I get this detail correct. But if I remember correctly, we made a tough defensive play in game 2, and the next batter hits a 3-run homer. Right, I believe that's what happened. Schussler had an opportunity to make a pick at first base. Ball gets by him. Yeah. And next at bat, man, 3-run bomb, and that's what happens in the SEC, man. That just kind of accentuates how important it is to make plays when you have the opportunity to make them, because teams are going to punish you if you don't. So. I like to see the response. We came right back, got those runs back. Jalen had a big home run for us to tie us up. But Just kind of an example of stuff that you got to tighten up defensively, because you make those mistakes against Georgia, they're going to punish you just like Missouri did, right? I'm sure we'll talk at some point about the ridiculous amount of home runs that Georgia's hitting, and you let guys on base with walks, errors, mistakes, they're going to hit a grand slam, they're going to hit a 3-run homer, and you're going to be in trouble. So got to tighten that up for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Schlossnagle always talks about the free base war. And I'll freely admit, and I would tell him to his face, like, he's got some crazy calculation for where one free base ends up being 4 free bases. I'm like, dude, come on. What the heck are you talking about? But, they limited their free bases, right? So they gave up 4 walks, 2 walks, whereas Missouri gave up 8, 3, and 9. And, you give up 8 walks in a game, and, yeah, you're going to get your ass beat. And you give up 9 walks. Missouri's honestly lucky that in game 2 of the doubleheader, they didn't get blown out just like game 1 on Friday night. I mean, even Schlossnagle this morning said, like, we were actually kind of hoping we didn't have to play those 2 innings. We thought we were just going to continue, paddling on the water. But yeah, I mean, it's in the SEC, you give up a free base, and those extra little things are just monumentally big because the margins are so thin. I mean, you saw it like to Saturday, that give up a 3-run home run, you're down. You go from being up 2 to down 4, or they were, I guess, 4-2. They were down 2, but yeah, you can't give good teams an inch because they will take a mile. Because everyone thinks Texas is strong mentally. Well, I mean, so are all these other teams, right? They're competing. They're out there to win as games just as much as Texas is. So you take a nap and you're going to get dusted. So
yeah. Absolutely. We've said it many times. You'll take that road sweep anytime, especially under those circumstances. As we kind of shift gears, and first let's talk about the 3 best. Let's do our 3 best from the weekend. I think we were all in pretty good alignment here, but there might have been a couple differences. Zach, you take it away.
I had to remember who I said, but yeah, I mean, Ruger Riojas, career high. Went more innings than any starting pitcher has this season. Just, SEC co-pitcher of the week, if anyone didn't see that already. Gasparino, SEC player of the week. Dude just put a ridiculous stat line up. And Max Grubbs. And, you could look at a number of other guys in that 3rd spot, but the battle that Max Grubbs brings out every single time, he just comes in with big situations and he doesn't give an inch. He's not afraid to go just toe-to-toe with the best. And nothing phases him. And so continuing to recognize grubbing. Just keeps on grubbing away.
Just grubbing, man. What do you got, Mark?
Yeah, from my side, Sean, Gasparino goes without saying. I mean, that guy had one of the most ridiculous 10 at bat, windows that I've seen as a Texas baseball fan. What was it? 5 home runs and 10 at bats, which is just crazy to think about. I also picked Jalen. I really feel like momentum and confidence are always so key when you're playing on the road. And he just annihilates that baseball in the top of the 1st inning on Friday. And I really do feel like that set the tone for the entire weekend, right? It kind of sparked the guys early. You could see they started, chirping a little bit, playing with some confidence. And I just thought that was a big hit. He obviously had another big home run to tie the game up at 4 on Saturday when we fell behind with that Missouri 3-run homer. So Jalen had him on the list. I think he's playing fantastic defense at shortstop as well. And then Ruger, who we already talked about, just fantastic on Saturday. He was so fun to watch. And so he was my number 3. So I think those are the 3 guys that really stood out to me up in Columbia.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about Flores is we haven't seen him play his best yet, and he's been pretty good. Like, I mean, defensively, he's steady. Offensively, he's a little hot and cold. And when he's hot, it's really good. When he's cold, it is what it is. We haven't really seen that consistency out of Jalen yet this year. It's coming. He's just too good of a player for that not to happen for him, where he just kind of gets into a groove. So, I mean, I'll be hoping that starts to happen this weekend, because it'd be a really great weekend for Jalen Flores to just kind of have himself a weekend. For me, Mascherino, 500 on the weekend, 4 home runs, 11 RBI. He had a bunt single, y'all. The big man that's hitting 450-foot home runs, lays down a bunt single, had a really nice play out in center field early in game 1 to take a hit away. And as you guys mentioned, SEC Player of the Week. Gasparino is a guy that I think we all knew could smoke a ball. And it just really came down to being consistent in his approach at the plate. And man, it all came together for him this weekend. So we will hope that that continues to happen. Riojas, we've already talked about him multiple times. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits across those 7 innings, 10 Ks, zeros everywhere else. SEC Pitcher of the Week. He was just – it's really fun to watch him pitch when he's like that because you can just tell he's like almost surprised by himself, and he'll throw that little sidearm thing in there to just keep him off balance a little bit. I think we heard Slosh talk about that this morning on your show, Zach, how it's just a little wrinkle that he'll kind of throw in there at hitters. And he was like unconscious on Saturday during that second game, and then that third game. And then I thought Grubbs, 3 innings pitched, 3 hits across those 3 innings. 1 walk, 5 Ks. But what I really liked about Grubbs' outing was he came on in the 5th with 2 on, no outs, and struck out 3 Tiger batters.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have runners on second and third with no outs. And best case, you're kind of thinking, man, if we could get out of here just giving up 1 run, that'd be really good. And instead, he just Ks all 3 of them and really makes it easy. There's the 3 best for the Missouri weekend. Real quick, we'll look at this Horntegs podcast, Texas Outfielder Dinger Tracker. It started scrambling. It started going crazy. I think at some point Marc texted me and goes, dude, your Dinger Tracker is rolling right now. Mascherino, man, showed up to the game. We got 15 out of 50. With the news today, it'll be tough to get to 50 for sure, but who knows? We're not giving up on it. I don't give up on anything. It's not what I do. Final thoughts on this Missouri series before we look ahead to Georgia this weekend.
I just think overall it was another road series win or sweep. And, in 3 years at A&M, Schlossnagle didn't have any, and he's got 2 this year. So it just speaks to, this team has fun and they like to play for each other. And I think that's really big from a mentality standpoint, especially when you got a guy or 2 guys or even 3 guys go out of the lineup. They're all there for each other. They're helping each other out. Galvan, when he got back from the freaking hospital, he was out there coaching Cole Chamberlain. Hey, you need to look out for this. Here's how you need to do this. And, it's that standard, right? You're just playing for each other, but you're playing for the brand. And so I think that was pretty big.
Yeah. And my takeaway, Sean, was just the focus and the mental toughness from the team, right? I talked about that last week. Can they lock in? Can they stay focused against a team that they're much better than? And they did that and then some when you factor in the injuries. I also think it was key that a lot of guys on the bench got some playing time because it's becoming apparent we're going to need some of those guys to step up immediately, right? So it was good to see Chamberlain get almost 2 full games behind the plate. I'll admit I didn't see a noticeable difference. I thought he played really well, handled himself well, so that was big. You saw some other guys get some playing time. Stewart with a lot more at bats. Duplantier got a game in the outfield. So I think it was good overall to get those guys some experience. And, I'm hoping that A-Rod and Galvan are going to be back soon, but you may need some of those guys against Georgia too. And that's not going to be an easy task. So.
Absolutely not. Yeah. And you talk about all the at-bats. We were kind of talking about that today, me and my special lady friend, talking about they kind of went from being guys that weren't maybe going to be depended on and would get in there occasionally. And now some of those guys going to have to step up big time and really get locked in and be starters again. They're probably starters their entire life till they got to college, and now they got to go learn how to be a starter again. And at that level, let's talk a little Georgia Texas series. We're going to bring on Olivia Sayer from Dogs 24/7. How you doing tonight, Olivia? We cannot hear you. Can you hear her? I can't hear you, Olivia. I can hear something.
I'm gonna try something.
I think we might have her now. Can you talk again, Olivia?
Is that better?
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
We can hear you now. We got you.
I think it's something with my AirPods connecting, but I'm doing well. Have TV on in the background. The Braves are up. What's left of the Braves, at least, and I'm excited to
right.
preview this series.
Yeah, I saw.
Very nice.
They lost. What's his name?
Lopez.
Oh, shoot, the guy that used to play for the Rangers, Jurickson Profar,
Yeah.
like for 100 years. How's that guy on performance enhancing drugs and he looks like a kid? I don't understand that.
Yeah, they lost him and they lost Ronaldo Lopez, one of their starters today. So brutal day for Atlanta.
But hey,
Yeah,
last time Atlanta went 0-4, they won the title. So it's all looking up.
Yep, I think that's the only thing keeping Braves fans going right now.
Hey, 0-4, and then you get to go play the Dodgers. What's easier than that, huh?
Yeah.
I know, and all they got is Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell, and Dustin May. So, woof.
Oh, wow.
Well, good stuff. Thanks again for joining us, Olivia. Let's talk about these Georgia Bulldogs coming to town. They're a top 10 team. They're probably 3-2. I don't look at all the polls. Certainly a top 5 team, 28-2, 8-1 in SEC play. Only losses this season, UNC Wilmington and those Kentucky Wildcats in the SEC. Talk to us about this team, Olivia. If you haven't seen them play, what should college baseball fans and Texas baseball fans be expecting out of this Georgia team this weekend?
Definitely the offense. This is a team, it's going to come in, it's going to hit home runs. And I know that's an area that Texas is really good at and not surrendering the home runs. But Georgia currently leads the NCAA. I believe it's 79, but it's not just the home runs. They're going to score in a variety of different ways. They're going to take their walks. They're going to take their hit by pitches. It's actually something that they practice. In practice, the coaches throw rag balls at them and they just have to stand there. And if they move, they get ridiculed by their teammates in the dugout. So they're going to score in a lot of ways. They're not going to rely on that home run, but they do have the power. And this offense is really deep. It's not just sometimes last year it felt like just turn the lineup over until Charlie Condon and Corey Collins get to the plate. This year, it's not like that at all. It's really 1 through 9. Any guy in that lineup can do damage on any given night.
Yeah, you mentioned the home run, 79, 56 doubles. So they're banging the ball around. They've got 8 guys over 1,000 in OPS. So it reminded me a lot looking at their stat line when we started talking about Mississippi State a couple of weeks ago, how dangerous that offense looked on paper. I think this Georgia offense probably a step up in reality than paper from that Mississippi State offense. So certainly a good offense. What should we be looking at from a pitching perspective, Olivia?
So the pitching has definitely been the struggle point for Georgia this season, and it's been the starters because the bullpen's been solid, not elite, but it's done enough to win the games. The starters just haven't gone long. They've lacked that longevity this season. They've only had 4 guys, and it was actually 2 guys, but 4 combined go longer than 5 innings, and that was Brian Curley twice and Leighton Finley twice. And it's giving up those big innings, especially early in the ball game. They had that, I believe it was a 4-game stretch where they put up zeros in the first inning, but where they've been hurt this season is letting those opposing teams get on the board early, definitely from a starting pitching wise.
Yeah, that was the one thing I noticed maybe against Auburn this weekend. The starters actually did a little bit better than they had in prior weeks, where the starters were able to give you a little depth and put up some zeros instead of that 4. I kept seeing every time I watch baseball, it's like 4, 5, and the 6 in the first. I'm like, what is going on with Georgia? And you start looking at their splits against their bullpen, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's completely inverse. I mean, from what you would expect. So.
Yeah, and the problem with that is it hasn't even been like the teams are hitting them hard. It's been those walks and those hit by pitches, and then you get the big home run, and then Georgia's in a deficit.
So I was looking at looking at the pitchers. You got 8 guys under 3 ERA. That's pretty solid. You got 12 guys under 4. I don't know what the gold standard of ERA is, but I think if you're around between 3 and 4 is probably pretty decent in college with these metal bats. So it looks like they've got a pretty good stable of guys that can keep other teams off the board. Radke's kind of the dude though, right? Isn't he like the guy Texas fans should go, oh shit, Radke's coming in. Like we got like something bad might happen. He kind of closes games. He's a long reliever type guy that can win games for you guys. 1.62 ERA. So and I think opponent's batting average against him is 169. So Radke seems to be the guy that is pretty dangerous on that staff. Is there anybody else similar to him or anybody else we should be looking for from a pitching perspective?
Yeah, so Radke, I would actually say he's one of the most underrated guys on this staff. And like you mentioned, he can kind of do everything. But I believe this was the first weekend that he actually closed for Georgia and tried to close him twice, did give up that home run in the top of the 10th to Auburn. But it was a good pitch, so just tip your hat to Auburn there. But he's done a heck of a job for Georgia this season, leads the team in ERA. But as far as some other guys that you should look at coming out of that bullpen, definitely an Alton Davis. He's a guy that's really struggled to start the season, but his last 2 outings have been really solid. Actually touched 99 the other day against Auburn, which I didn't know he could do. I knew his velocity was up there. Didn't know it was at 99. And then as far as a couple other guys, Jordan Stevens, I really think Georgia wants to try to use him in that closer role. He just walks way too many guys, and that's the problem with him. Same thing with Brian Zeldin, was Georgia's closer last season, hasn't really gotten off to a good start this year. But those are the ones that I'm definitely keeping my eye on. And then you have guys like your Eric Hammond, your Justin Bird. Davis Chastain's been an underrated one as well, and just a bunch of other guys that you can bring in from this bullpen.
My favorite's still Brian Curley, just because he's an absolute madman on the mound. I mean, he gives off that D3, just does not give a flip. I'm going to go bananas at any moment. Just, I love it. It's pure theater out there on the mound.
Was it the Georgia guy that did the little lick thing or something before he threw before he struck somebody out earlier? And which one is that?
That was Brian.
That's my dude.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the thing that I love about him is when he's on the mound, it really feels like he has that mentality of, I'm going to throw my stuff and you can't hit it. Whereas some of the other pitchers, it feels like they think the other team can hit their stuff. So they're kind of dancing around the strike zone a little bit. Brian Curley does not care. He's going to attack the strike zone, and he is the most confident pitcher I've ever seen for Georgia.
Mark, if you'll remember this, but when you watch Curley, it reminds you of Chance Ruffin out of Lake Travis.
Oh, yeah.
And those two might actually be best friends in real life if you ever put them together. It'd be really scary as shit. Like, it would be hangover vibes, but it would be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I got to see Curley over the weekend. I watched him pitch some in that Auburn game, and you could tell he had those vibes. I was like, oh, yeah, I would like this guy if he was on the Texas side. So, yeah, I'm excited to see him pitch in person.
Definitely one of those guys that you love if he's on your team, can't stand if he's not. But I don't know how much you guys have seen of him, but he actually dances on the mound too. He'll be sitting there bobbing his head. He'll be singing sometimes to like the little clapping noise playing in the background. So definitely a fun guy to watch.
Future Savannah Banana for sure.
Yeah, exactly. If Major League Baseball doesn't work out for him, he'll have a spot on that team for sure. We've talked about it before, Olivia, how baseball players, you just kind of have to be a little bit different to be a successful baseball player at this level. He might take it a little extra extreme of different, but that's cool. I like that. I like to see guys having fun. One of the things we really like about this Texas team is how much they have fun in the dugout, and just seems like they it almost seems like there's no place they'd rather be at any given point in time. When they show them in the dugout, that's like their heaven at that moment. And you like to see that. There's no point in being all bummed out in the dugout. And so anyway, we'll be looking for that guy acting crazy. What else? Like, tell us your thoughts on the series overall. Like, I mean, probably, I don't know, you may disagree. Probably Georgia's biggest test could be Texas's biggest test. We don't know. Like, LSU's obviously a good baseball team, but there's still a lot of baseball to be played. Not exactly sure how all this will shake out. Certainly, though, top 1 or 2 tests for both of these teams. What are you Georgia fans? What is Georgia? What are we expecting out of this from y'all's side, from y'all's perspective?
Absolutely. I definitely think, at least up to this point, this is going to be Georgia's biggest test of the season. And then the following week, Arkansas comes to Foley Field. So a heck of a 2-week stretch there for the Bulldogs. But I kind of alluded to it earlier. Words are hard. But Texas doesn't give up the long ball. So I'm curious if that happens to Georgia. Can they continue to score in these different ways? One area of concern against Auburn, Georgia struck out 37 times. A lot of that was credit to Carson Myers. He just came in, absolutely shut down. He retired 7 straight via the strikeout, and it was 9 of the last 11 batters he struck out. So a lot of that could be swayed due to his performance. But if Texas can limit Georgia offensively, home run wise, can they continue to take their walks, take their hit by pitches, especially on a hostile road? Gainesville was hostile a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be anything like Georgia's about to face.
Yeah, Sean, I saw Olivia tweet earlier. I was actually looking at the same type of stats this morning, but obviously you see Georgia with the ridiculous amount of home runs. It's like 79 or something like that. But I was surprised to see that Texas has only given up 13 on the season. So I was looking at those two exact stats this morning, and I'm like, man, something's got to give there.
Yep.
And Texas fans like to take pride in the fact that Dish Falk plays big, and a lot of times you have some powerful teams that come in. LSU is an example, right? I think they only hit, was it one home run that they hit, Zach, when they played?
Was it just
Austin?
one?
I know Rodriguez.
Gurriel hit one, and then
Gurriel went the other way, and then Hernandez hit one in game one.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be a real, kind of linchpin in the series there. It's like, can Texas keep them inside the park? And that could really make a huge difference from Texas's side if we're able to do that. So
absolutely.
I think that's going to be huge.
And then can Georgia's starting pitching match it is really my biggest question. They've been inconsistent this season and going on that hostile environment. I'm expecting Charlie Goldstein, Brian Curley, Leighton Finley. Wouldn't be surprised if Colton Smith got thrown in there, but can they match what Texas is going to do? And that's really what I think this series is going to come down to.
For me, it's just, it's crazy that you went from Condon and I'm blanking on the other guy's name, begins with a C. Corey Collins. The two of the obviously golden spikes, and then a really amazing power hitter, and then you turn right around, you're like, oh, you can't reproduce that, and you got Zabrowski and Burnett out there just continuing to launch them. So it's especially Wes Johnson's a pitching guy first, but he's been able to just hit the transfer portal so well and bring in that kind of talent that it's really impressive what Wes Johnson's done in just the 2 years at Georgia.
Yeah, and he said he moneyballed it point blank. He said we're not going to have a guy come in and get those 37 home runs like Charlie did, those 30 like Corey did. So we're just going to get a bunch of guys that can hit, and they've done that so far.
Yeah, you guys have said it all, but it really will be interesting to see which pitching staffs can keep the other guys inside the yard, can limit. There's going to be hit by pitch. There's probably going to be walks. That happens almost every single college baseball game. What happens after that? I think that's the big key. And if you do give up the long ball, if you're Texas, can you do it and limit it to solo shots, things like that? Or are you giving up bombs with 2 and 3 guys on the bases? And that's not any like magical thing that we just made up. But I think, to your point, Olivia, that's going to be really important in this one, and you too as well, Mark. 79 home runs for Georgia, 13 given up for Texas. Whoever wins that is going to be in a really good position to win this series, just outside of some crazy fluke stuff. Olivia, talk to us about the Georgia baseball fans. We had LSU in town a couple of weekends ago, and they didn't take over Dish Falk Field by any stretch, but there was quite a few of the purple and gold in the area. Are the Georgia fans going to travel well, you think? Let me ask you this. Are Georgia fans as excited to go to the University of Texas to watch baseball as Texas fans probably are to be in the SEC and go play some of these series with some of these teams?
So I definitely think Georgia fans are going to travel. I don't think it's going to be anything probably near what LSU did. Just you look at the proximity, it would be a flight.
In fairness, geographically, yeah.
And I just think back to when Georgia played there for football, those ticket prices were insane. The plane rides were insane, the hotels. And I don't expect it to be the same magnitude, but I definitely think there's going to be some fans. I don't think it'll be a takeover of any sort.
Fair enough. All right. Let's talk some predictions real quick. Olivia, I put everybody on the spot when they come on this show. What do you think is going to happen this weekend between the Texas Longhorns and the Georgia Bulldogs? Who's winning the series? And maybe if you want to get really down to the nitty gritty, how do you think they take it?
Ooh, that's a good question. Predictions are always so hard because it's any given day, any given night. But
right.
Just looking, obviously I've watched Georgia a lot more than I've watched Texas. I think this Georgia team's really good. I think it's probably the best team since that 2008 World Series team. Definitely better than last season, which is saying something. So I'm going to go Georgia takes it 2-1. I think Georgia wins the Saturday game. Friday night could be a toss-up. if Charlie Goldstein can locate that fastball, that's been his biggest area of concern this season as he continues to come back from that offseason surgery. If he can get that location back of that fastball, he could be Georgia's ace. So I think if he does that, Georgia has a really good chance to take Friday. Sunday, I think it leans towards Texas, just looking at how Leighton Finley's been recently. He's locating his pitches. It's just the other team's definitely hitting them, so he needs to get that under control. But my final prediction, I guess I would say 2-1. I think it's going to be a bit of a slugfest or maybe not a slugfest, but I think some runs are going to be scored.
So Olivia's got the Georgia Bulldogs coming into Austin, winning the series, headed into Sunday. It's already wrapped up, and maybe they're playing for a sweep. All right, that's fair enough, Olivia. Mark, what do you got?
You're killing me, man. We talked about this, I think, on text last night. It's so hard for me to make a prediction not knowing who the hell's going to play for us this weekend. Like, Zach's sitting here telling me they might play, they might not play. I think Galvan and Rodriguez, right, and their availability is going to be
that'll
really
be huge,
important.
obviously.
It's going to be important.
Let's say Galvan and A-Rod play. What do you think?
If Galvan is available, I think Texas wins the series 2-1. That is not saying anything bad about his backup. I'm not talking bad about Chamberlain at all.
Oh, no.
Galvan, I told you last week, he is the motor on this team, right?
He's the lifeblood of the team. He's the heartbeat of the team right now. He's thumping the ball and obviously big behind the plate. So I don't think Cole Chamberlain would take any offense to that whatsoever. It is what it is. Cole Chamberlain's probably aspiring to be that in his sophomore and junior year and all that stuff. So, Mark, you got 2-1. Got Texas taking the series, and I'll put if Galvan and A-Rod play. What do you got, Zach?
But for me, though, I will just say, like, I'll be honest, I'm not expecting A-Rod to play. I could be wrong. I'd be pleasantly surprised if he did. But I think Galvan is going to be huge for us. And I think if he's available, I think Texas can take the series. But it's going to be a hell of a series. I will tell you right now, I think Georgia is one of the top 2 teams in the country. I think they're better to me from what I've seen than Arkansas. I think it's Georgia and Tennessee, the 2 teams that have stood out to me so far watching baseball this season. So they're a hell of a team, but I do think our crowd's going to be ready to go. And I think the home field advantage could push us over the top playing in Austin this weekend.
What do you got, Zach?
So I have to vehemently disagree with Mark on them being better than Arkansas. Like, Arkansas, just their pitching is lights out, and then their hitting is demonstrably better than it was last year. Georgia is very good. They have a very good offense. I do worry a lot about that pitching. I mean, it's obviously been okay, right? Like, they've basically just motored past people.
Yeah, they've only lost 2 games all season. So
when they give up 5 runs, it's like, well, we'll get them back later in the game.
Yeah.
But I am going to go Georgia 2-1, but that's just because I honestly don't think Rodriguez is going to play this weekend. I think Galvan will. But despite the home field advantage, despite Dish playing large, that offense looms large, and you're always expecting, like, hey, the pitching's done so well, there's going to be a blip, right? I do think Texas probably has the advantage if it goes into Sunday, if they're able to preserve Ruger. But like we talked about, if they have to burn Ruger on Friday or Saturday night to try to steal one of those games, that opens a whole mess of trouble for Texas on the pitching front. So,
I think if Texas can stay on pace with the pitching, this is certainly a series they can take. And I think that's what it's going to come down to, honestly. Like, can we get enough out of the Friday and Saturday starter that we don't have to burn a lot of guys out of the bullpen? When the guys do come out of the bullpen, do they stay as consistent as they have been? And can we roll into Sunday starting a Riojas, and we have maybe a fresh Villanis that we can throw again? He's done that a couple times already this season, where he's pitched the second game and come back in the third game. So I think that'll be a huge key. I'm an old school guy, man, and I like pitching. I think pitching beats hitting a lot. So I'm going to take the Longhorns. If this one was in Georgia, because I think Georgia plays on one of those baby fields like Tennessee plays on.
It has a short right porch. It's 314.
Yeah. So if we're playing in Georgia, I'd probably have to go. I think they're going to slug their way to a series win. But we are playing in a Big Dish Falk. I do like the pitching. They've given me no reason this year to think that they won't stay on pace from a pitching perspective. And, stuff can happen. It is a very good Georgia team, very good offense, obviously. But I think behind that home crowd and the pitching, I think Texas is going to figure out a way to get another series win in the SEC. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, that sounds crazy because that'd be 4 in a row. And that's tough. I mean, we've talked on this show a bunch of times about getting to 16. Texas is already halfway there through 3 series. So there's room for error. So Texas fans, if my prediction is horribly wrong, if me and Marc are just completely wrong, don't freak out. Still a lot of ball games to be playing, but I'm taking Texas. And I think Olivia, I'm going to go with you, Olivia. I'm going to say I think we get Friday night.
Mm-hmm. I could see that definitely.
And I think if we can stay pretty on pace with pitching, we'll take the rubber match on a Sunday. So I'm going to say we win the Friday night game and the Sunday game.
Yeah, I think Saturday's Georgia, Sunday's Texas, Friday it comes down to how Charlie.
Yeah, it could go either way, and that's interesting. It's kind of interesting that you look at a 3-game series and say the Friday night game will be the one that determines it. But on the other hand, that's when you're throwing your aces, and that's how it can sometimes go. So what else, Olivia? Anything else we need to know about this Georgia team before we go to Dish Falk Field on Friday night?
Mm-hmm. Mainly just the pitching is, like you alluded to, it's what it's going to come down to. And the biggest thing that I'm curious about is, does Colton Smith sneak into that rotation a little bit? Because the way Charlie Goldstein's been throwing, yes, he's been your ace in years past, but what Colton Smith is doing is impressive. So there might be a chance he sneaks into that rotation, and I think that could definitely change the series. But as for what to expect from Georgia, it's kind of like Texas. They're going to bring the energy. I don't know if you guys have seen, they actually have a shopping cart home run celebration at home. Don't know if they're going to bring it to Austin or not, but they put on a dog mask, get in the shopping cart, and take the ride down the dugout. So definitely a lot of energy. They're a very confident bunch. They really believe, so it should definitely be a fun series.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because I saw a video clip of Florida. Who are they playing? Was it this last weekend? The kid from Florida hits a home run to take the lead.
Ole Miss.
And literally walks like 3/4 of the way to first base, smacks the bat down, and then does like a little pirouette, and then takes his little home run trot. And it's like that in the SEC sometimes. Some of these.
Well, he was also an Ole Miss transfer, so
he was also told to transfer.
He transferred from Ole Miss to Florida. So
fair enough. Fair enough. But yes, the celebrations in the SEC for home runs can be a bit much, and I'll just say that like as nicely as I possibly can. So yeah, a shopping cart. So they put a mask on, jump in the shopping cart, and the team pushes them around in the dugout. Is that what I heard?
That's correct. Apparently they had some shopping carts behind the dugout. They had already done the dog mask. They brought that in last season. And then apparently some nice lady from South Georgia, according to Wes Johnson, sent them a new dog mask. So that's what they've been using. But a couple of weeks ago, we saw a photo on social media because they switched their dugout to the third base line, so we can no longer see in it from the press box. But we saw a photo of one of them in a shopping cart with the dog mask on. So we were like, where the heck did this come from? They're like, oh, we just saw it, and we figured why not? But like you mentioned, that's what makes college baseball amazing, is just you get the passionate people, you get the celebrations. It's just kids having fun, and it's really fun to watch.
But Sean, going back to that Florida kid, man, the baseball gods got involved after that, and Ole Miss came back and won the game. So I was laughing about that.
So
I don't mind I think having fun with your teammates is great. So like the whole shopping cart thing, that's a fun way to like have fun with your teams. I'm not a huge fan of the like I'm gonna pimp this thing in front of the other team's dugout and throw my bat down in front. Like I'm old. You probably can't tell, but I'm really old, Olivia, and I'm like really old school. And so that stuff, I wish they would stop it a little bit. But I also thought the NCAA like passed some kind of rule or something where like these sort of choreographed home run celebration things were no longer allowed. Am I wrong?
That was Virginia Tech. They were using the big
hammer
or something. And they were using it on the field, like outside the dugout. And so what the NCAA came out and said was like, okay, no more of the BS outside the dugout. once you're inside the dugout, A&M's had celebration stuff. LSU's done stuff. Georgia's had the shopping cart. I think there was another team that had a shopping cart as well at one point. Miami's, that's what it was. I thought so. So you've seen like it evolve into, okay, we get it. You don't want to see it outside the dugout, but inside the dugout, it's all love.
I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I say have fun inside the dugout as much as you want. I can get down with that. Although I hope no Georgia Bulldogs actually get a chance to get in a shopping cart this weekend. I doubt that'll happen. It's a good team, so
yeah. I don't know if they're going to bring. Oh, what were you going to say?
I was going to say Sean's going to be out there with chain locks, like locking all the grocery carts,
locking up all the shopping carts.
Yeah.
I'll make sure there's no damn shopping carts in Disch-Falk Field. By God.
Well, I don't know if they're going to bring them on the road. I don't know if that can fit on the plane or not. But my favorite home run celebration I've seen, it was actually, I believe it was against Georgia a couple years ago. A Florida pitcher got ejected for celebrating a strikeout. So Jack Caglione, I think it was, he just walked around the bases like stone-faced robot style, just to spite the umpire. But Georgia's had some chippy games this season too. You look at Kennesaw State, 2 ejections, had one the other day for arguing balls and strikes. So they're definitely a group that will chirp a little bit.
Yeah, it should be interesting. We'll just hope for some good baseball. And like I've always said, win or lose the series, show up, play 3 games, be competitive, and that's really all you can expect at this level. There's just so many good teams. At this point, it's really all about advancing, hosting a regional, possibly hosting a super regional, and then figuring out a way to get to Omaha. And if you can do that, you've put yourself in just as good a position as the other 7 teams to win a national championship. And I think that's really all. Nobody's going to blow through the SEC, I don't think, and just dominate that conference. So yeah, Olivia Sayer from Dogs 247. You can find her at Olivia K Sayer on Twitter. I just followed her a few days ago. She's very active, and it's very interesting stuff. So if you care about Georgia baseball or just college baseball in general, definitely follow Olivia. Thank you for coming on tonight, Olivia. Anything else, anywhere else that folks can find you? Anything else you have going on?
Yeah, like you mentioned, just Twitter at Olivia K. Sayer. And then during the games, I'll have some message board posts up on Dogs 24/7. And then we'll have a bunch of stories previewing the series, game stories, post-game stories. So a lot of content to look forward to.
Outstanding. Well, appreciate it, Olivia. We will get back to it. We got a midweek with Texas State to talk about real quick before we bounce. But thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night. I know it's late out there on the East Coast.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks, Olivia. Hey, Sean, before you get going here, I want to do the first bullpen challenge.
Okay.
So, Zach, you said earlier that you think Arkansas is better than Georgia. I believe Olivia said they play next weekend. Matt's El Rancho dinner on the outcome of that series, because I think Georgia's going to kick the hell out of them at Foley Field. All right.
I love
the
this.
bet is on.
I love this.
The bet is on.
This is good stuff.
Have you seen the Georgia strikeout numbers, sir? I think Arkansas is going to be racking up strikeouts like you rack up margaritas at Matt's El Rancho, my friend.
And by the way, it's not Matt's El Rancho. It's Matt's Ranchero. It's been renamed by my special lady friend to Matt's Ranchero.
I'm not sure she has the authority to do that, man. Come on.
I'm not arguing with her. I'm not going to argue with her.
Are y'all both coming in town this weekend?
Yeah, we'll actually be at the game Friday night, and then we're going to the Two-Step Inn on Saturday and Sunday with some friends. Big country music festival in Georgetown, I believe. So, I like going to music stuff. Probably I would have said, let's not do that and let's just go watch baseball all weekend if I'd have been thinking right. But anyway, we'll get one game in. We'll get that Friday night dub, and then I'll pass it off to you guys.
I'm talking so much shit already to left field guys. There's like 5 or 6 people that are going to that concert instead of some of the baseball games.
It's fair, man.
You know what? If they make that decision, they're not welcome back in left field. So
I'll be the only guy at the concert not listening to the concert. I'm gonna have my earbuds in, and I'm gonna be watching baseball on my phone or my iPad or something. So,
well, then
speaking from experience, there's the one thing you cannot do in Georgetown. One, it's Williamson County. 2, do not have a golf cart loaded down with beer on the back with maybe a 6-pack that is at its various stage of being open while you're driving down the street. That is very frowned upon. I
won't do it.
can't say
I won't do
who.
it.
I'm just saying that it's very frowned upon.
They don't
Fair
play
enough.
up there.
Yeah, they do not play in Wilco. So, yeah, we'll definitely be careful. I think my friend that we're going with has like one of those cool Teslas that'll like just come pick you up and then drive you home. You don't even have to drive it or anything. So I bet you we'll be in that thing a lot. And I don't know what the rules are on that. So anyway, it is what it is. What's going on this weekend out in left field? While we're talking about left field, what do we got scheduled this weekend?
Nothing out of the ordinary. I don't think it's going to be quite the level of LSU in terms of the coordination with the Cajun food and stuff like that. But we are going to have some big crowds out there. Hoping the weather's going to cooperate.
Yes.
Saw some early reports of rain in the area this weekend, so I'm hoping that won't interfere much. But I do expect it to be a full house. I think it'll be the same amount of people that you saw at the LSU series. Again, there's going to be some conflict with some Lady Longhorns Final Four, things of that nature. So difficult choices as always in Austin, man. There's never a lack of things to do here in Austin, but I'm expecting Dish Falk will be full. Again, people come out to left field. There's going to be plenty of beer. We'll have some food out there, hoping to get a good party going out there again for the Georgia series. And
folks, it was a party for the LSU series. It was an absolute blast. So if it's even like half or a quarter of that, it'll be a really good time. And I got level 1 information that Marc will be barking at all Georgia fans. He's going to get on all fours and bark at all Georgia fans all weekend long. So you'll definitely want to get over there and check that out. So we've talked shit about this enough. Left field's going to be a good time this weekend. I'll be there Friday night. If you see me, come say hello. I love talking and meeting to people. Good stuff. Let's talk real quick about this midweek tomorrow night with Texas State. You were talking about it with Schloss this morning, Zach. We can't beat Texas State at home. And Schloss says, well, why don't we just move it? Why don't we just move it down to San Marcos then? Should we do that? And he could probably pull that off. I bet you he could.
I love that he was just like, screw it. We'll just go down there.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a long bus ride. So anyway, Texas State at home has not been good to Texas. I don't think this Texas State team probably as good as Texas State has been the last few years, 12-15. They've only got 2 series wins, one of them against the aforementioned Binghamton that we talked about last weekend in Arkansas State. However, they did beat previously ranked number 1 Texas A&M, and they have a win over number 19 Oklahoma State in a midweek as well. We talked about that Oklahoma State team heading into Arlington. It's a pretty good ball team. They can smack the ball around pretty good. What do we think about this Texas State team, Zach and Marc?
I mean, they've played some dangerous teams. Their pitching has pretty much been atrocious, though. They've got 1 guy or 2 guys that they really count on. One of them is Jackson Tier. He actually is a D3 transfer from Trinity University here in San Antonio. But they're, outside of their top line guys, they just don't have the arms they've had in the past. And even outside of the top 2 hitters, which are really, really good. Chase Moore is a guy that, realistically doesn't belong at a Texas State. He definitely belongs in one of the, top tier Big 12 schools. And then Ryan Faber, who's just been hitting the lights out of the ball since he was in high school in Texas. But you look at the average, they're 253. They only have 29 home runs. And for a team that's monikered themselves Slam Marcus, and that they follow their head coach, Steven Trout, who's very offensive minded, they just have not been good at the plate. And so I don't think it's necessarily the same competition level that Texas has faced in the last couple of years that we've seen from Texas State. At the same time, to your point, like they've gone and they beat Oklahoma State, who maybe is not as good as they probably everyone thought. They just got swept by Kansas. And then, A&M's a game under 500. They're 1-8 in conference, but they've played Baylor. They've played 3 against Illinois, which Texas faced earlier in the season. They took 1 of those. They lost to TCU. So, they've played good teams. And when you start playing that many good teams, it's going to add up and it's going to adversely affect you. So they're a dangerous squad is what I'm getting at is, I think Texas is going to win fairly easily, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's not a dogfight going into the 6th or 7th inning, just because Texas may be feeling a little hangover and, feeling that new offense out with what I'm anticipating are 3 starters being out tomorrow night.
Yeah. A lot of a lot of distraction kind of going into this, a lot of stuff that's not normally there headed into a midweek for Texas. So and Texas State, they hate them some Texas, man. Texas State might hate Texas a little more than, I mean, they might be like on Texas Tech level of hate of the Texas Longhorns. Those guys are going to be worked up. They're going to come in. They're going to take hacks. I mean, what else? What are you going to do, right? Show up, take hacks. I mean, and whatever happens, right? So yeah, I think it's a game Texas should win, obviously, but again, those midweeks, you just never know. What's going to happen. How's the pitching going to do? I'm going to guess again. I'm always wrong on our Tuesday night starter, but I'm going to throw out Cade Bing's name. He's probably going to throw to start this one off, right? Because didn't throw this weekend, needs to get some work in. Perfect time to get him in there and a start.
Yeah, I think you're going to see Bing. You're going to see Rarick. You're going to see
Navarre.
Probably Bryce Navarre. You're going to want to get some of those guys that haven't been able to pitch as much, because again, you want to set yourself up for the weekend, and you have to start using guys that you normally count on. You can't do that. But I think what we saw last Tuesday was a really good blueprint of, look, if you can get a solid start from Bing, you can bring in a guy and layer that with Cody Howard. If those two guys alone can eat up 4 innings apiece or even 3 innings apiece, that really sets you up well. So it's, yeah. And what'll be interesting is if Texas State goes with the guy I think they're going to go against. He was actually committed to Texas prior to the staffing change in Bryson Dudley. Now they may go completely off field because their pitching has been started changing quite a bit since the beginning of the season. They lost 2 guys to injury. But Cam O'Bannon, who transferred from Texas down to San Marcos, he's on that team. And so there's a lot of familiarity between the teams. And like I said, it'll be interesting because I think if Texas can get past the Texas State starter, whoever that ends up being, I think it's actually a really good thing that you get a guy like Chamberlain a lot of at-bats. You want to see him go get 4 at-bats tomorrow night. So.
What do you think, Mark?
Man, I said this about Missouri last weekend too. I don't know a damn thing about Texas State. I haven't been keeping up with them, but I know they're going to be motivated to beat us. And going back to what y'all mentioned earlier, I'm getting sick of Texas State winning in Austin. So I'm hoping the team's locked in and ready to go. Again, we're going to be some men down, but a good opportunity for some of these other guys to step up. Easton Winfield, Stewart, guys like that are probably going to get some at-bats tomorrow night, and those guys are going to need to be ready for the weekend. So I'm hoping that we come out, see some good pitching, and get the win. I know Texas State is going to be motivated, and we got to match that intensity tomorrow night.
And see, Kevin just said Shane Connell. So like I said, Texas State going completely left field on me. He was not one of the 4 guys that I maybe mentioned that could get the start. So
yeah, well, I mean, the thing we got to think about on these midweeks too is sure they want to come and win that game, but they've got conference games they're trying to win. Even though it's Texas, this midweek not as important. Probably is going and setting yourself.
I think
up.
it is to them. I think it is.
I mean, you might be right.
Well, I mean, think about it this way: it's not always
a recruiting tool, right?
Like they would rather drop a conference game to win a midweek game when you have a top 10 RPI, because at the end of the day, a top 10 RPI away is worth 2 conference games essentially.
Yeah, so see, I gotta study up on all that stuff. Make sure I understand what the dizzle is with all that stuff. But yeah, so. I guess for Texas, the key really is show up again. Like y'all done it all season. Just keep showing up, be dialed in. And then, some of those guys are in a position now where maybe the monkey's not on their back anymore. Maybe they don't have to worry so much about what they do and how that affects their playing time going forward. Because for some of those guys, they're the guy right now. So it'll be interesting to see if that maybe affects some of these guys positively that have kind of been teetering back and forth on the edge of producing versus not producing. So, but I mean, this team has got a 6.22 team ERA, so they're getting busted up pretty bad on the pitcher's mound. So I think that's bad for them to come in and face this Texas offense, even down a few guys. So, it'll be interesting to see. Any last thoughts before we close it out tonight, gentlemen?
I just think, this weekend, it's not spring break anymore. I think, the Texas students is where you really need them to show up this week. It was great having the families and all that for LSU, and Saul Stengel talked about that. But, to build this into what they want it to be, the Texas students are going to have to come out in force and are going to have to start getting incorporated into the Texas baseball games and get incorporated into that narrative in left field, because that makes such a huge difference. And it's, Saul Singles talked about it. It's not just for the game itself. It's for how they build that recruiting pipeline. When they, you see the energy, and this team feeds off of energy from the stands. They talk about it constantly in the post game. Like Max Grubbs is like, hey man, I didn't have my best stuff, but those guys carried me. And when he says guys, he's talking about this field, the guys in the stands. And so, if I doubt any students are listening, but if they are, like, I would be saying, like, listen, get all your fraternity brothers and get the hell out to the game and go take advantage of it, because that makes a huge difference.
Is Yeti Yard students only this weekend? I know it was for LSU.
I believe Saturday is. I don't think Friday and Sunday, but I'd have to look. I know that's how it was originally set up, was going to be LSU, Georgia, and A&M were set up for Saturday students only. But again, that may have changed, because I looked at that weeks or maybe a month ago.
Fair enough. Mark?
Same from my end. The crowd has to step up and do their part, right? We talk about guys being hurt, next man up from the team perspective. It's a top 5 weekend at Dish Falk Field in Austin. No excuse for the atmosphere to not be electric. So we have to get out there, do our part as well, support the program, support the boys. And I'm hoping we wake up next Monday with another series win in the SEC.
Man, that would be that'd be big time, honestly. I don't have anything else to echo outside of that. If you can be there. Students, I don't know, the students are listening. They're just incognito. They know how to watch without the numbers being huge. There's multiple thousands of students watching us right now, Zach. So y'all get out to the game, get in the Yeti Yard, talk a lot of trash, be respectful. Don't throw beer cans onto the field, all that good stuff. That's it for this edition of the Bullpen. We'll be back next Monday night, 8:30 p.m. And as Mark said, hopefully we're talking about another SEC series win. Join me Wednesday night, maybe, with Mike Harge. And by the way, if you guys want to hop in as well, I can get you all the details. I'm trying to get Harge to come on with me Wednesday night to talk a little baseball/football. I haven't talked football in a while, and I know spring practice has started, so we'll be looking at that. Follow us all on X for all the latest in Texas baseball and football. Subscribe, get notified on the YouTube channel at Horn Takes. Gentlemen, Zach, Mark, thank you guys for being here. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and thanks for participating in the chat. Again, I'll say it again. Y'all keep us on track, and y'all kind of feed us what we need to be talking about a lot of times. Sometimes we get off on tangents. So thank you guys for being there. Thanks for watching. I'm Sean Redfern. We will see you next week. You guys get hooked.
Hook 'em.